It has now officially lasted longer than ECW. It has now officially lasted longer than World Class Championship Wrestling, which we will talk about a little bit later on. It is now on the cusp of lasting longer than WCW. Tonight, TNA Total Nonstop Action celebrated its 12th year in business, its 12-year anniversary, with the awesome pay-per-view offering that was TNA Slammiversary. What's going on, wrestling fans? What's going on, YouTubers? Once again, it is your host, Arachnid Soul. I covered the last Ring of Honor / New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view. Tonight, I will do the same. It is June 15th, 2014, and TNA has just wrapped up, like I said, an amazing pay-per-view. The night kicked off with some of the best X Division wrestlers on the planet. It was a six-way dance. It was a six-way ladder match for the X Division Championship of the world. I call it a world championship because not only has that belt been defended around the globe since the inception of TNA 12 years ago, but right now, in Seiya Sanada, you have a young wrestler, an awesome talent, a person mentored by the great Muta, fighting out of Wrestle 1 in Japan, 2 successful title defenses already in Japan, and he captured that belt in Japan. Sanada was in a 6-way ladder match. The other participants were Manic, the former Suicide, making his return to TNA. Also the American Wolves, or some might just call them the Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, bringing that strong style to Dallas, Texas tonight. From Lucha Libre AAA, the Extreme Tiger, Tigre Uno, was in action tonight, and somewhat challenged, somewhat disturbed. I don't know, he seems a little unstable to me. From the Menagerie, it was the rookie Crazy Steve, and I don't know what kind of connection Crazy Steve has to Dallas. I know that Crazy Steve's valet, Rebel, was actually a Dallas cheerleader. She was one of the cheerleaders for the Dallas Cowboys. She was one of the I don't know what the hell they're called. We're talking about wrestling tonight. We're not talking about football. In any case, it was this amazing ladder match that opened the night. TNA went in with the plan to get that crowd hot. The crowd was hot from the opening bell. Let me tell you about some of the importance of this match. As you know, this summer in New York City, TNA will be filming a number of Impact television tapings from the Manhattan Center. As you guys also know, Austin Aries a couple of years ago instated Option C. This was an option that says, when TNA does Destination X every year, the X Division champion can cash in, it's his prerogative, can cash in his X Division championship at Destination X and receive a World Heavyweight Championship shot. This was the last big X Division match before Destination X. Not to say that Sanada might not put the gold on the line again, but this was kind of the big blow-off to the X Division heading into Destination X this summer. As you can imagine, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, arguably the best tag team on the planet. No disrespect to the best tag team in the business. You know I'm talking about Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, now wrestling at Ring of Honor. No disrespect to the bromance. No disrespect to anybody, but Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards are amazing, and certainly no disrespect to Red Dragon or the Forever Hooligans or anybody else. This match was high-paced. Early on, we saw Tigre Uno, who I still want to call Extreme Tiger, executed a tornillo, a corkscrew plancha to the outside. This guy hit about 900 rotations. Takes out damn near everyone in the match except Sanada, who was smart enough to get out of the way. Sanada and Tigre Uno, at points in this match, were in the ring together. These guys had that awesome best of 3 series. It actually was kind of a best of 4 series, almost remnants of Booker T and Chris Benoit years ago when it didn't quite go 7 matches. It went 8, it went 9, it went 10, who knows. Anyway, these two guys just had a match last week on TNA Explosion, but every time they're in the ring, it's magic, it's awesome. Then you've got Crazy Steve. Like I said, I don't know what connection he has to Texas, but man, those Crazy Steve chants were ringing out. The fans were behind Crazy Steve. This was an awesome match. I think the most awesome moment of this match, and if you can imagine this, Manic, or who some of you might still call Suicide, actually did a sunset flip powerbomb off the top of the ladder, grabs Davey Richards, throws Davey Richards into a powerbomb. Davey Richards gets folded up. I thought Davey Richards broke his neck. Richards landing on another ladder that was bridged between the standing ladder and the middle ring rope, the middle cable. Davey Richards at that point was no longer in the match. I hope Davey Richards is not seriously injured. In any case, it was Seiya Sanada reaching up and capturing that X Division belt. He retains the gold. Seiya Sanada is still the X Division champion. The question now becomes, will he cash in? Will he trade that belt in? Will he opt into option C at Destination X this summer from New York City? We're going to have to stay tuned. Next, we head to the Brawl, the Smash Mouth Wrestling Clinic of the night. It's Samoa Joe, the Samoan submission machine, taking on Bobby Lashley. And as you can see from that picture right there, Bobby Lashley is an absolute beast. You want to talk about put together, this guy's not missing anything, as they say in gym terms. But let me not discount Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, a man who went more than 2 years in Ring of Honor, didn't lose the belt. One of the most successful Ring of Honor champions of all time. I always have that argument, who was more successful, Joe or McGuinness? In any case, there was so much importance on this match. Heading into this pay-per-view for weeks, we thought it was going to be MVP in the main event taking on Eric Young for Eric Young's TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Well, it turns out that recently in a match, MVP tore his meniscus. He can hardly walk, he damn sure can't wrestle. As the director of wrestling operations, under president of TNA Wrestling Dixie Carter, and under the board of directors, MVP had to find a replacement. And what he announced earlier this week on Twitter was that the match between Joe and Lashley would be somewhat of a number one contenders match. And you would have another number one contenders match later on between Aries and Kenny King. The winner of both of those matches would go on to the main event to meet Eric Young for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship in a steel cage. So that adds a little sizzle to this steak that is Lashley versus Joe. Let me tell you about these guys. These guys, the agility of two guys this big is ridiculous. The agility of two guys this big is ridiculous. The cardio of two guys this big is ridiculous. The vertical leap of Bobby Lashley, a guy this huge, you know, in one bound he can leapfrog you. I've seen him do drop kicks. I've seen him on occasion come off the top rope. He can spring from the arena floor to the actual ring apron. Samoa Joe, a man who throws that Mitsuharu Misawa like elbow suicida. A man who also goes tornillo much like Tigre Uno. I've seen Samoa Joe come off the top with Aizuke Busaiku knees. Both of these men are tremendous in the ring all around. Both tremendous professional athletes. Both have trained in the amateur style. We know Bobby Lashley has a tremendous MMA record, and these two did not disappoint. This is actually a return match from a match they had years ago at Bound for Glory. And tonight, unlike that night, it didn't end with the submission. Tonight we actually saw, after Samoa Joe couldn't quite get the coquina clutch, the rear naked choke on, couldn't quite get the muscle buster because Bobby Lashley does have that tremendous core strength and was able to have that thoracic extension to not arch his back and take that muscle buster. We actually saw Bobby Lashley and Joe. Keep in mind, these two guys know they're going to have to go again in the main event if they're successful. I was rooting for Samoa Joe. I know I'm supposed to call it down the middle, but I'm a big Ring of Honor guy. I saw Joe come up. At the end of the night, It was Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley getting the win clean. Now, some people are going to say it wasn't clean because maybe the referee was in the way. Say what you will. Nobody came out. Nobody touched the referee. To me, Bobby Lashley hit a spear on the damn near 300-pound Samoa Joe and dropped him to give you some indication of what a beast Bobby Lashley is. Bobby Lashley then, after the spear, hooks the leg, covers Joe. 1, 2, 3. Bobby Lashley tonight at Slammiversary 2014, at the 12th year anniversary of TNA Wrestling, has defeated Samoa Joe. Bobby Lashley will go on to the main event later on tonight. When you talk about people who you've got to see come up, who were built, who became stars in one company, who had the look, who had the drive, who had the work ethic with none of the drug problems, and who had the potential, no one exemplifies that over the past decade in professional wrestling, in my opinion, like Magnus. Some people might call him Brutus Magnus. Some of the Ring King fans might call him Sir Brutus Magnus. I just call this guy awesome. He's one of these guys who can go out in the ring and have a great match anytime he feels like it, but sometimes he doesn't feel like putting forth the effort. And when we talk about other guys that are popular, other guys who are known, we can talk about Jeff Hardy. So I'd like to tell you that the next match was a grudge match between Magnus and Jeff Hardy, but it wasn't Jeff Hardy. It's Jeff Hardy's darker, sicker, more twisted alter ego. It's a man that Jeff Hardy had to put away for a number of years. It's a man who was too extreme to work in New York. It's a man who didn't have the style that they wanted to see in Philly years ago in Ring of Honor, but it's a man who's now found a home, who's now found a place, who's now found acceptance in Orlando, and tonight in Dallas, Texas, it's Willow. Magnus and Willow going at it, but not one-on-one, because as you see in the graphic, Magnus brought one of his longtime friends, one of his best friends in the world, a man named Bram. A man who, in my opinion, is almost as twisted and almost as sick as Jeff Hardy. But when you talk about twisted, sick, demented, psychotic, crazy, mentally disturbed individuals in the sport of professional wrestling, one name comes to mind. It's the Monster Abyss. It's a man I've seen fight in barbed wire. It's a man I've seen fight in thumbtacks. It's a man I've seen hang with the likes of Sabu and Cactus Jack. But in any case, it was Magnus and it was Willow, and as twisted as all those people are, they actually wrestled. It wasn't so much a brawl. Now, sometimes it was outside the ring, but we did see the wrestling. We did see the catch as catch can, and believe me, catch as catch did. Magnus and Willow all over the ring, but then you see Bram outside kind of getting pissed off when Willow put his hands on Bram. Bram finding an extra turnbuckle inside the ring. Now, when I say turnbuckle, don't get it twisted, boys and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about a turnbuckle pad. I'm not talking about a turnbuckle cover. I'm talking about that actual metal turnbuckle that you stick the wrench in and you crank to tighten not the ropes, by the way, in TNA, but those stiff elevator cables. We've seen Bram use this to attack Jeff Hardy over the past month. Bram tried it again, but Abyss brought his girlfriend. And I'm not talking about Daphne, and I'm not talking about former TNA interviewer Lauren while we're talking about Slammiversary. I'm not even talking about Goldilocks while we're talking about Slammiversary. You know who I'm talking about. That long-term girlfriend of Abyss, the spiky, cold ice princess that we call Janice. We actually saw Abyss using Janice to chase Bram out of the building. Now, keep in mind, Jeff Hardy has been in the ring with Magnus. Magnus has Jeff Hardy scouted. Jeff Hardy has Magnus scouted. These guys have wrestled. As a matter of fact, the night that Magnus won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship last year, he won that in a ladder match. It was actually a Dixieland match, a cage match / ladder match with Willow, with Jeff Hardy. But it was on this night when Jeff Hardy got into the ring. It was on this night when Magnus got into the ring that Magnus, with a new finishing move, yes, that's right, folks, it's that time of the month when Magnus comes up with a new finishing move. It's actually weird how Magnus has more finishing moves than some world champion top stars in other organizations even have moves, but I'm not pointing anyone out. But you guys can't see this finish. It's Magnus with an elevated belly-to-back suplex, switched it up into a Uranagi, covers Jeff Hardy, hooks him in, 1, 2, 3. Magnus goes over Willow. Magnus goes over Jeff Hardy. Abyss not happy. Willow not happy. Bram got chased out, not happy. This situation is far, far from over. Every wrestling fan out there needs to know one thing. There is one Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and it is actually called the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's not about politics. It's not about let's put this guy on camera for 3 minutes and rush him off so we can pop a buy rate, or we can raise ratings, or sell a little bit of merch, or next year we can bring out a new DVD, or we can put him in some kind of reality show. No, there's an actual Wrestling Hall of Fame that honors and respects the best professional wrestlers who have ever competed in this awesome sport of professional wrestling, or over in Japan, Puroresu, or in Mexico, Lucha Libre. That is the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And when TNA started a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame a couple of years ago, I, like many people, thought it was too soon. I, like many people, thought, like the other Hall of Fame that you see on TV, that it would be a joke, that it would be a gimmick, that it wouldn't be something legit done to respect people. But let me tell you, I've been pleasantly surprised by TNA. Now, I know a lot of people haven't. I know a lot of people say the TNA Hall of Fame, why isn't it people like the Wildcat Chris Harris? Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? Why isn't it people like Shark Boy? Is anyone saying, anybody want to raise their hand and claim they're saying Shark Boy or D-Ray should be? Okay, anyway. They inducted Sting because Sting was an individual who, in a way, saved them. When they were on Fox Sports Net, they didn't like the deal that they had. And it was Jeff Jarrett, he had Los Pantalones, and he actually said, I've got the stroke, I've got the pull, and slap nuts at Fox Sports Net. I'm going to take this show off because I don't like the deal we have. I'm going to take it off even though we have no TV deal. And they started shopping TNA around. Now they actually had a product to show, unlike when they tried to get on the Wednesday pay-per-views and it was just Jeff and Jerry Jarrett's word. In any case, it was the signing of Sting, the potential signing of Sting, that got them that TV deal. It was Sting who brought eyeballs to the television product. It was Sting who brought back some of the great wrestling fans from WCW. Sting deserved to be a Hall of Famer, and he wasn't a Hall of Famer anywhere else, so he really deserved it. The next year around, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. I don't think I need to sell this man on being in a Hall of Fame to anyone out there who's a wrestling fan. But TNA's Hall of Fame, it's not so much about just ratings or buy rates. It's so legit. It makes so much sense. Sure, there are people out there who deserve to go in, but the way TNA does it, it's one induction a year. So while there are more people who deserve to be in, you cannot say in all honesty that the people who are in do not deserve to be in. So the question becomes, this year, 2014, who was the inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame? Well, first of all, let's set the stage. The Olympic gold medalist. The second ever TNA Hall of Famer, Kurt Angle, who we know is injured, who will return to action later this year, comes to the ring and he says, we're going to bring this individual out. We're going to bring this guy out who's the Hall of Fame inductee because only I know to the fact that I heard that the actual guy who was inducted was hidden backstage. He came into the building last moment. None of the wrestlers saw him. They didn't even put together a video package. So even the people in the truck didn't know. But anyway, Kurt Angle brings out the most decorated, the most celebrated tag team. At this point, you can't even say in the past 20 years, because actually they've surpassed the Legion of Doom at this point. They've surpassed everybody. They've even surpassed, I guess, the bromance to some degree in tag team wrestling. I'm kidding, people. It's Team 3D. It's Bubba Ray. It's Devon. It's the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys, Team 3D, inducted tonight into the TNA Hall of Fame. And when you think about it, damn near 25 reigns as World Tag Team Champion in ECW, in WCW, in New York, in TNA, in Japan, all over the world. These two have been the most dominant tag team that I've ever seen since I've been watching wrestling. And yes, I have gone back and watched older wrestling. I still don't see anyone who matches their title reigns in all of those different territories. Then you have the crowd. The crowd was so happy, and you heard the crowd chant for about 5 minutes. As Devon and Bubba Ray stood in the ring, Bully Ray, the crowd was chanting, "We want tables." And Bully Ray at one point almost looked like he was going to stop him, and he realized, you know what? This is special. I'm going to lay out. I'm going to let them have their say. It was a standing ovation. They all chanted, "We want tables." Tenay and Taz at ringside in the booth laid out for it. It was a special moment in wrestling history. Those chants, moments later, turned into chants of "Welcome back, welcome back." The old Philly bingo hall chants. We've all heard them. That's where it started. And tonight, in a way, it returned home because, yes, they were in Arlington. Yes, they were in Dallas. But they were chanting it at the Dudley Boys. They were chanting "Welcome back" at the Dudleys, and mostly at Devon, who's been gone since August of last year from TNA Wrestling. Devon then gets on the mic, starts to talk. This is after his brother, Bubba Ray, had talked. And Devon then, silenced out by a chant from the crowd, a chant we've heard in the past. We've heard this for Jerry Lynn. We've heard this for Sting. And it was the chant of "You've still got it." You've still got it. A standing ovation, a chant of "You've still got it" at Devon Dudley. Devon Dudley continued on the mic and wrapped things up with that trademark catchphrase, "Oh, my brother, testify." Tonight, TNA, Kurt Angle, Bully Ray, Devon, they all testify. Team 3D, the next inductees into the TNA Hall of Fame. The official induction will happen this October at Bound for Glory, the biggest pro wrestling pay-per-view of the year. Congratulations, Team 3D. We talked about it earlier. We talked about the fact that MVP was injured. We know that Lashley has advanced to the main event to take on Eric Young. But we also know that main event for the World Heavyweight Championship will be a three-way dance. Who else will qualify? Who else will join those two men, those two wrestlers, those two amazing athletes in the main event? We will find out in this match between Kenny King, the King of the Night, the pretty boy Pitbull, and the greatest man that ever lived, a double Austin Aries. Austin Aries, not only the greatest man that ever lived, but actually the greatest manager that ever lived. If you guys remember Ring of Honor, back in the HD Net days, if you guys go back to 2009, I think you'll find that Austin Aries was semi-retired from Ring of Honor. Semi-retired and became a manager of Rhett Titus and Kenny King. Austin Aries has been at ringside for so many Kenny King matches. At the same time, we know that Kenny King, the consummate fan of professional wrestling, actually watched Aries and watched a lot of his matches before he even got into Ring of Honor. These two guys know each other so well. They've wrestled against each other. They've wrestled on the same team. They've both been extensively in Ring of Honor, traveling up and down the roads together, and the same thing in TNA. What an amazing match this was. This was the kind of match, as you guys can imagine, anyone who knows Kenny King and knows Austin Aries, you know this was a good match. This was the kind of match I could watch every night. I hope these guys aren't done. I hope these guys fight more. We saw every trademark move from both of these guys. And I'm going to get to the finish of this match in a second, but let's talk about some of the things we saw in the match. Let's talk about the heat-seeking missile. Let's talk about the IED. What I'm talking about is that sick, in-close, disgusting dropkick that A-Double has in the corner, and that disgusting suicide dive to the outside. It's only a matter of time, fans, before Austin Aries kills someone with that move, and it's probably going to be one of the fans that brought a front row seat. Let's talk about Kenny King. Spinning back kicks, some of the best charisma in professional wrestling, the conditioning, the cardio. I mean, this guy's got it all. This guy has future world champion written all over him. If I'm a wrestling promoter, a guy like Kenny King or a guy like Davey Richards or Eddie Edwards or Samoa Joe, guys who can come in and can be tag team champions, can be television champions, X Division champions, world heavyweight champions, guys who can plug themselves into any bracket, to any slot. These are the guys you look for. Kenny King's one of these guys. The only reason I don't go on the same way about Aries is because we all know Aries is one of those guys, and we've seen Aries win all of those championships already. But when it was clutch time, could Kenny King come out on top? Could he defeat A-Double? Well, let me tell you guys, the difference between TNA Wrestling, which you'll see on TV, and other wrestling organizations which you might see on TV, is that TNA doesn't have a laundry list of moves that you're going to get suspended, fired, or fined for executing. And tonight, this match ended with one of those moves. It was a top turnbuckle into the arena floor, not the middle turnbuckle, not standing in the ring. It was a top turnbuckle. I'm trying to tell you people. A top turnbuckle brainbuster from A-Double Austin Aries. I thought Kenny King was dead. Aries hit this beautifully. Drops Kenny King right on the top of his head. Floats through. Hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. The crowd goes nuts. Austin Aries, once again, is a TNA World Heavyweight Championship contender. And once again, not only is he always the main event, but once again in the eyes of management and the fans, he is now officially, once again, a main eventer. The three-way dance, the main event. Eric Young, the champion, will defend later on in the steel cage against Bobby Lashley and TGM TEL, the greatest man that ever lived, A-Double, the vascular vegan, Austin Aries. Let me tell you guys about a little organization some years ago called World Class Championship Wrestling. And I've always compared this organization, more so than any organization in history, I've always compared WCCW to TNA. I think back to World Class Championship Wrestling. I think about the Sportatorium, running that same small building in Dallas week after week, month after month, year after year. Building stars, building rookies, guys like The Ultimate Warrior, guys like The Undertaker, guys like a guy called Stone Cold Steve Austin, guys like Cactus Jack. Do any of these names ring a bell? Building names, but building names more so with a group, a family, a second generation called the Von Erichs. If you guys are wrestling fans and you don't know about the history between the Fabulous Freebirds and the Von Erichs, that's your homework assignment. Go educate yourselves. Go learn about that. But tonight, it wasn't that second generation of the Von Erichs shining in Dallas, Texas, or was it? No. Tonight, it was about the third generation. Tonight, we actually got to see the United States mainstream television debut of 21-year-old Marshall Von Erich and 26-year-old Ross Von Erich, two sons of my favorite Von Erich of all time. A man who didn't really like to wear shoes in the ring, yet I don't think he was Samoan. Kevin Von Erich. And Kevin Von Erich was in the building to bring his sons down to the ring. And everybody in Dallas was so appreciative, and I was so surprised by what actually happened that, as you can see, I don't have a graphic for it. But it's the bromance. It's two halves of almost like the fabulous Freebirds in a way. You think Freebird rule, which two parts of the Eagle's claw are you going to get? Tonight, it was Jesse Goddard and DJ Z coming out and mocking the Von Erichs, and they actually ended up in a situation where they were in the ring with the Von Erichs. The bell sounded. It is the Von Erich third generation. It is Marshall and Ross Von Erich, as their father, Kevin Von Erich, sat ringside at this point and watched as they took on Jesse and DJ Z. I have to think the only reason that DJ Z was in this match, on a side note, and not Robbie E, was, well, you know, the menagerie was in the building, and I gotta be honest with you, Robbie is afraid of certain things. I don't think he really digs clowns. That's just what I'm guessing, and I think that's why he wasn't there. In any case, you saw some of the Von Erich blood in the sons, or maybe the grandsons, if you think back to Fritz being the original Von Erich. But you saw so much of that Von Erich blood in the sons, with the drop kicks, with some of the lariats, some of the style. You know, you hear about guys being trained by other guys, and you say to yourself, well, they don't wrestle the same. And that's because when you're trained with someone, you basically learn the basics of wrestling, and then you add your own style, or as I like to call it, panache, to what you do inside that squared circle. These guys, when you're in Dallas, when you're a Von Erich, when your father is maybe the most talented Von Erich, David was damn talented too, by the way. But in any case, we'll save the Von Erich stories for another night. In any case, when your dad's Von Erich and he teaches you, and when you've also been taught under the legendary former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race, and you've also been taught in Japan, in the Pro Wrestling Noah Dojo, you can't suck. It is impossible. Did someone say Lacey? Anyway, let's talk about this match. The match is going back and forth. The crowd is chanting Von Erich. It's in Dallas. It's that feeling. It felt amazing, and I'm all into it. And the match is going well, and I thought the Von Erichs had it won. But I'm going to be real honest with you. That asshole Jesse Goddard comes into the ring with the chair and decides to attack the Von Erichs. The referee sees it. The match ends in a disqualification. The Von Erichs win via disqualification. Let me give you guys a scenario. You're one of the most amazing wrestlers to ever come out of Texas. And God, that covers a lot of ground and a lot of world champions, right? You're one of the most talented ever to come out of Texas. You bring your kids back to Dallas. Families there, friends there, crowds there. Everyone's there. People they went to school with, there. Teachers there. Everyone's there, right? Ice Cream Lady, she's in the audience. The Paper Boy, he's in the audience. The guy who used to walk the Von Erich dogs, we saw him sit in 9th row. Everybody's in the building. And then these two bromans have the audacity to hit your kid with a chair. You being a legend from Texas, being in Texas on Father's Day of all days. And by the way, happy Father's Day, Wildcat's dad. I'm saying that for Don West, so Don West doesn't get hit with handcuffs. In any case, it was Kevin Von Erich getting in the ring. The crowd went absolutely nuts. He attacks DJ Z and finally grabs DJ Z. And I'm making the gesture with my hand right now as you can hear my voice change. He's got DJ Z in that Von Erich claw, in that iron claw that dates back some 60 years. And he was squeezing the hell out of DJ Z's head. I thought blood was going to come out. I thought it was going to be Barry Windham style, where someone was going to have to go get the white towel. In any case, the Von Erichs have debuted in TNA on mainstream professional wrestling in the United States on television. Beware, the Von Erichs for 2 generations have not been jokes. The 3rd generation of the Von Erichs started tonight at Slammiversary. I wish them the very best of luck. I am a massive Von Erich fan, to say the least. Then we move on to another world championship. It's the Women's World Championship. It, in my opinion, is the top women's championship in professional wrestling. anywhere in the world. And I watch Japan and Mexico, so that means something. And I watch United States Indies, so that really means something. It's Gail Kim, the challenger, taking on a record-setting 6-time KO champion in Angel Williams, in Angelina Love. I call her Angel because, man, she earned it. She used to sit ringside every night back in the Wednesday night days when TNA was in the asylum. And you people know it. You remember her. She had those braids. In any case, early on in the match, I saw something that I never see. It's something that anyone who goes to pro wrestling school and learns the sport of professional wrestling will learn, but it is almost never executed. And it's almost never explained to the fans, and that's why the fans don't understand it. When you whip a guy off to the ropes, when you shoot a guy off to the ropes and he comes back, when you drop down and he runs over you, the whole point of you dropping down is that you're trying to trip him, and he's trying to avoid being tripped. We actually saw Gail Kim do the drop down today and was successful in tripping Angelina Love. Maybe not a big deal, but it is so rare. It's so rare, in fact, that the fans thought, what the hell was that? They didn't even realize what they were seeing, but I guess when they see it again 15 or 16 years from now, maybe they'll, catch on and say, wow, that is rare and awesome. We saw in the early goings of this match, Gail Kim, the former La Felina. We know in Canada, she trained in Turnbuckle. We know that she was a kind of lucha chick up in Canada. She trained with Tracy Brooks, Scott D'Amore and that whole gang. We saw her go old school, almost like Kid Cash. She goes for that double springboard Frankensteiner. But Angelina Love catches her and power bombs her. I thought Gail almost broke her neck. By the way, that was only the first time in this match I thought Gail almost broke her neck, and I'm still not sure that there might not be issues there in the future. Let's continue. Let's talk about the fact that Velvet Sky was at ringside. Now, I'm thinking maybe Madison Rayne's going to get involved. Maybe Brittany's going to get involved. But they really didn't. They didn't get involved in the match at all. They weren't in the building. This was pretty much Gail Kim, and we saw Gail Kim going one-on-one with Angelina Love and Velvet Sky. And also, let's talk about that referee. Let's talk about Stifler. I've for a long time thought there was something going on with Stifler and One of the Beautiful People, and tonight his count seemed a little slow. I'm not sure, but they seem, I remember years ago, Nick Patrick, when you started to see those signs with the New World Order. I'm seeing something like that with Stifler. In any case, as we continue into this match, we see Gail Kim get drilled with that bicycle kick, the Botox injection. Now that happened because Velvet Sky interfered. The referee wasn't looking. Gail Kim gets drilled, Angelina Love goes for the cover, and actually Gail able to kick out. At which point Earl Hebner comes out, and I guess Earl Hebner felt the same way I did. He didn't like the way the match was being officiated. Senior referee Earl Hebner actually ejects Velvet Sky from the building and actually throws out as well referee Stifler. Earl Hebner now becomes the referee of this match. Gail Kim going back to her old school TNA finishing move. The happy ending, which is the crisscross neck breaker. I mean, you remember Christian York and Joey Matthews doing this. You remember Future Shock. You've seen guys doing this, and you know what I'm talking about. In any case, we're in Dallas. We talked about the Von Erichs earlier. We saw Gail Kim hit that trademark. She had shoes on, granted, but that trademark Kevin Von Erich style crossbody out of the corner. It was beautiful, and it got her a 2 count. Now we gotta think. You got Earl Hebner in the ring. Earl Hebner trying to get a close view of everything. Gail accidentally drop kicks Earl Hebner. Earl Hebner is laid out. At which point Gail hits Eat Defeat on Angelina Love. Back down comes referee Stifler. Gail has the cover. Stifler's checking on Earl, but at the same time I could swear he sees the cover in the background. He doesn't care. Gail then picks up Angelina Love, rolls her up in the Pat O'Connor roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count all day. Doesn't matter. Once Angelina Love counters, so Angelina Love is on top. We see Stifler roll in with what I thought was a pretty quick count. Angelina Love with a handful of tights or trunks. 1, 2, 3. Angelina Love retains, the Women's Championship, the Knockouts Championship. And I've got to wonder, what's the deal with the beautiful people and referee Stifler? We're going to stay tuned, and we're going to find out, I'm sure, in weeks and months to come. I hope TNA looks into this. Next, we see Bully Ray backstage with his brother Devon. Now, it's Father's Day, and Bully Ray says to Devon, "Are you going out there with me for the Texas Death Match I'm going to have a little bit later on against EC3?" Devon saying, "No, I've got to go back to the hotel. I got to spend time with my boys, with the twins. It's Father's Day," and Bully Ray wishes him the best. Next, we move on to the Texas Death Match, a match I was looking forward to. It's Bully Ray versus Ethan Carter III. Now, I'm looking forward to this because I want to see someone beat the snot out of EC3. Because I am a big fan of EC something, but it was ECW. And we did hear those chants in this match. Not to glaze over this match, but folks, it was all the violence you expect. At one point, we actually saw Bully Ray take out a cheese grater and cheese grate the chest of Ethan Carter III in the corner. This was after Bully Ray had delivered some of the stiffest chops, and you know what I'm talking about. Those overhand chops that Bully Ray brings. You remember when he lit up Jesse Neal in that match. You know the match I'm talking about, and you're going to go watch it later because I know you want to see that again. Bully Ray, in his essence, the crowd chanting ECW. They're behind him because he's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. He might not be in Philly. He might not be in Hell's Kitchen, NYC, but believe me, Bully Ray felt at home. We can also talk about the fact that at one point Ethan Carter thought, you know what? I'm going to bring some glass into the ring. He brings glass into the ring. He spreads it all over the ring canvas. Momentarily, we're going to talk about one of the sickest things I've seen in pro wrestling in a long time. But first, we got to talk about Ethan Carter. We got to talk about what the hell was this guy thinking. Goes up top, thinks he's going to finish off Bully Ray in this Texas Death Match. Last man standing rules. If you can't answer the 10 count, you lose. Ethan Carter comes off the middle rope. He's looking for what I believe was either going to be a shoulder block or a lariat. The ring is full of glass. Bubba Ray jumps up. He goes old school. Now, Bubba Ray's been doing this since I believe 1996. And he connects with the Bubba Cutter, the Ace Crusher, the Diamond Cutter. Call it what you will. Don't call it anything else. Call it a Diamond Cutter, kids. And Ethan Carter goes chest first and face first into the glass. The crowd goes nuts. But Ethan Carter still able to answer the 10 count. A little bit later on, we see Bully Ray do what he did last year when he fought Sting at Slammiversary. We see Bully Ray take out the knife. He cuts the threads of the ring apron. He pulls back the canvas and he exposes the wooden ring. Now, anyone who knows professional wrestling knows that there's a wooden ring and under it there's metal beams, and that's what the ring is. But usually that's not exposed. Usually that's covered by the canvas. Bully Ray exposes this. I don't know if he's looking for a pile driver or what he's looking for. In any case, then we see Rockstar Spud come out with the Shinai, with the kendo stick, with the Singapore cane, call it what you will, drills Bully Ray. Bully hardly even feels it. He turns around, gets that stick, and I'm telling you, he split the uprights, but not downstairs, upstairs, I'm saying, between the eyes on Rockstar Spud. Damn near sent Rockstar Spud back across the pond into England. Rockstar Spud probably woke up thinking he was back on British boot camp. Next, we see Bully Ray setting up 2 tables outside the ring. Actually tells Taz and Tenay, hey, help me move this table, the announce table, out of the way. I need room out here. Bully Ray sets up 2 tables. He's got Ethan Carter on the 2 tables. Mind you, Bully Ray took the 1%er onto the exposed ring, answered the 10 count, and he's back up, and he's ready to go. Bully Ray knocks out Ethan Carter, puts him on the 2 tables. Bully Ray then goes back onto the ring skirt, standing on the middle rope. Bully Ray about to jump, about to hit that senton most likely, and end the career of Ethan Carter, and also succeed in one of his goals in life, to put Ethan Carter through a table. But out comes, and she deserved to be there, it's her company, she built it, maybe not single-handedly, but she helped, and so did her family. Dixie Carter, TNA 12-year anniversary, Dixie Carter comes out. She's covering up EC3. She tells Bully Ray, don't you jump. Next thing you know, Dixie Carter starts running because Bully's chasing her. Dixie Carter runs into EC3. Dixie Carter is out on the floor. Bully Ray takes out EC3. Bully Ray picks up Dixie Carter, puts Dixie Carter on the table. Bully Ray about to put Dixie through the table, and out comes Rockstar Spud. Rockstar Spud comes out, pulls Dixie off the table. At the same time, it's EC3 from behind with a disgusting Singapore cane shot. Bully Ray falls off the ring apron through 2 tables. He cannot answer the 10 count. EC3 has still not been put through a table by Bully Ray, and EC3 actually goes on to defeat Bully Ray in the Texas Death Match. Now, as some of you may or may not know, the Dallas Cowboys were in attendance, and they were in attendance the whole night, but let's talk about this match. Let's talk about James Storm versus Mr. Ken Anderson in a grudge match. These two have a blood feud going. I'm not going to get into what caused it. I'm not going to get into everything that's happened from week to week, but these two do not like each other, and they plan to beat the hell out of each other in Dallas, Texas, and tonight that's exactly what they did. Let's talk about the fact that James Storm comes out. He's got a Dallas Cowboys helmet, and he pours beer on it. He doesn't like them. He says, I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. They're, the Cowboys are at ringside. They're laughing. They don't care. They're not bothered by this. In any case, James Storm and Mr. Anderson start fighting. We saw at one point an amazing move from Mr. Anderson that I've heard that he used in other organizations. That top rope forward roll into the Samoan drop. I know it's called the Kamikaze Crash, but no one knows that. So if I say he did a super Kamikaze Crash, you'd all be sitting there saying, what the hell is Arachnid Soul talking about? So you know what I'm talking about. It's the move he does almost every match. Sometimes he'll go for a pin. Sometimes he'll use it to set up for that top turnbuckle somersault senton bomb that some of you call the swanton. In any case, we saw that. You know what it's like. You've seen James Storm in a number of matches. He's a damn good wrestler. He's a damn good brawler. These two went back and forth. At one point, we see James Storm with a mouthful of beer at ringside. I wonder what he's gonna do. He turns to the Dallas Cowboys and nails them with the Bear Mist. Now, the Dallas Cowboys don't want any part of it. These are big guys. These are 280, 300-pound guys. They bust through the guardrail, but security's there. James Storm at that point is mocking them for a second because he knows they can't touch him. James Storm grabs the beer bottle from ringside. He's in the ring. He's about to drill Mr. Anderson, but we see one of the Dallas Cowboys grab the beer bottle. James Storm, pissed off and distracted, then gets hit with Ken Anderson's finisher, gets hit with the mic check. Ken Anderson, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Anderson gets the 3 count. And as a result, Ken Anderson at Slammiversary did defeat Cowboy James Storm. Now let's go to the main event. It was the main event for wrestling's top prize. It's the World Heavyweight Championship held by Showtime Eric Young, a man who busted his ass for 11 years in TNA to win that belt, and actually 17 years in total. Starting out in Canada, wrestling under Scott D'Amore and Can-Am Wrestling, Eric Young, a former member of Team Canada, just one more guy who went from TNA's X Division to become their top champion. Once again, we do not see that glass ceiling for all of the wrestlers in TNA, the way you might have seen in other organizations in the past, the way you'll see with organizations in the future, and the way you see in other organizations presently. In any case, it's Eric Young. He's defending the belt against Bobby Lashley and A double Austin Aries, both guys who I told you qualified for this three-way earlier. This is a steel cage match. Eric Young, at one point in the match, I've seen him do it before. I saw him do it in the X Division with guys like Sheik Abdul Bashir and some of the smaller X Division guys. Actually picks up, listen to this, Eric Young actually picks up Austin Aries in a fireman's carry. Then picks up Bobby Lashley in a fireman's carry. So now he's holding on to both Bobby Lashley and Austin Aries in a fireman's carry. Eric Young has the leg strength, the core strength, the upper body strength to walk to the center of the ring and in one foul swoop gives them both a Death Valley driver. Eric Young drops both with the Lou Spicoli driver at center ring. The crowd goes nuts. You do not realize how strong Eric Young is until you see him do this. Had he just done this on Lashley, it would have been impressive. He did this on Lashley and Aries at the same time. Well, I don't need to sell these guys to you. You guys know how talented Eric Young is. And if you didn't know 4 months ago, you should know now. You guys know how talented Bobby Lashley is because you've either seen him in amateur wrestling, pro wrestling, or MMA, and unlike a guy like Bob Sapp, he's good at every sport he's in as opposed to not being good at any sport he's in. In any case, we see as the match proceeds, Austin Aries actually does hit a brainbuster on Eric Young, gets a 2 count. Now let me tell you what happened before this. Eric Young decided that he was going to go to the top of the cage. Eric Young decided that he was going to come off the top of the cage and drop the elbow. It was beautiful. We also, in the early goings of this match, saw A double Austin Aries standing on the top rope along with Bobby Lashley. Aries jumped up and executes that super rare Super Frankensteiner. A move you'll almost never see. Nailed it perfectly. And Lashley's a big boy. I don't think he wanted to go for that ride, but it's just a matter of where the head goes, the body will follow. You don't have a choice. Lashley, we also saw later on in the match, spears the hell out of Eric Young. The same spear he hit Samoa Joe with earlier on to get the 3 count to qualify for the main event. Lashley tops Eric Young. 1, 2, not 3. Eric Young kicks out of Bobby Lashley's spear. At the same time, Aries is looking on. Aries is looking for his moment. And after that spear, Aries actually looking to win the match. Aries looking to recapture that championship. Aries looking to walk out of Houston, Texas, once again with the championship that he hasn't had in, God, a year and a half, maybe longer. Come on, Aries, get back in the game. Austin Aries and Eric Young in the ring. Bobby Lashley with a full head of steam, looking for another spear. Both men out of the way. Lashley slams into the cage door. Now, you guys are going to have to kind of visualize this. There was enough give in the cage door to where, even though the cage was locked, the door opened enough for Bobby Lashley to slip out through a small little crack, which then closed as Lashley was on the arena floor outside the ring at this point, and he couldn't get back in because it was chained. In any case, we saw Eric Young and we saw Austin Aries. These two guys at this point pretty much had a one-on-one match. I mean, no one's going to think anything bad of them if they tell people that they wrestled one-on-one in the main event, because they kind of did. We saw so many counters. We saw so much awesome wrestling between these two guys. Aries actually did counter the pile driver of Eric Young with the back body drop. Austin Aries did it beautifully and then tried to finish up. We saw that EY and Aries went back and forth. Aries, at the very end of the match, picks up Eric Young, has him up in the brainbuster, drops him. 1, 2, 3, Austin Aries is your new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Actually, no, that didn't happen. I'm so I know people got excited. I'm sorry. No, Aries had EY up for the brainbuster. EY used the cage. EY got his balance back, plants his feet, picks Aries up, counters a brainbuster with the pile driver, if you can imagine that. Eric Young covers A double Austin Aries. 1, 2, 3. If you're Eric Young fans, you'll be happy. If you're Austin Aries fans, you not only will be happy, but probably hate me now. In any case, Eric Young retains wrestling's top prize, the World Heavyweight Championship of TNA. Fans, I want to know what you guys think. In the comment section, did you see Slammiversary? How did you enjoy the event? How did you enjoy my review of this event? Please check out the other content on my channel, Thursday Night Throwdown, that wrestling event we do every week from Japan. Please check out my commentaries. Once again, it has been your host, Arachnid Soul, intellectual, voracious, and passionate about TNA Slammiversary. As always, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.